next little persons we have to honor are our children, okay? Because it's God, spouse, and children. And we all know the first thing you got to do is hit the knees with our kids. You know, our kids are bombarded by so much in this world. And I was thinking about this the other day, this morning actually. We were watching a cooking show. And I thought to myself, you know what? The television and the computer and the phones have become the teachers. They become the teachers. The kids are learning how to behave. They're learning about their culture by watching television. I was raised back in the 50s, 60s, and television just started, like in the mid-50s. And I remember my mother breathed a huge sigh of relief when the television came into the room because she could buy a few minutes of time. We had 5 kids. And I remember that when she wanted time, she'd sit us down in front of the TV set and turn it on, and then she could go about her business. You know, and that's fine for a few minutes, but unfortunately it became the norm, and pretty soon, my mom never really talked to us much. She was just too busy. And so when I started to have little ones, I kind of started doing the same thing. We tend to repeat what we've learned. And I had someone tell me, you know what, Julie, when that little one comes up to you, you know, and they always know when to come, don't they? It's usually when we're on the phone, or we've got to cook dinner, or something's going on, and we just don't have the time. It's like, no, I'll be with you. I'll be with you. No, I'll be with you. Just go sit over there. I promise. You know. And they just keep at you and at you. So my friend said, okay, Julie, when they want your attention, put down what you're doing and do what I like to call lock and load. Okay? Lock and load. You sit down with them and you look at them in the eyes and you just let them talk to you and you just go, and you become this filling station. And they just need to be filled for a few minutes. And it's so amazing. They really don't need that much time. I mean, to this day, my 22-year-old, my 24-year-old, they come home, and when they hit the door, it's like, hi, Mom, you know, and they tell me all about their day, and I put down what I'm doing, I just look at them, and just, yeah, just let them run their tape, and then they're like, okay, they're done, and off they go. And they feel filled up, they feel like I care enough to be with them, and that builds that relationship. You know, we're so busy with our phones and with the TV, and we don't talk to each other anymore. And that's how you build a relationship. You know, so pray for your kids and learn how to do lock and load. And then the other thing, how many of you have children? Okay, and how many of you have neighbor kids come over to the house? And how many of you treat the neighbor kids better than your own kids? I didn't get anything. I know that was a problem I had. You know, I'd be really hard on my kids, and then the neighbor kids would come over, oh, hi, honey, how are you? Yeah, you want some cookies? Yeah? Okay. Well, you know what? You just go play in the backyard, and I was just so nice to these kids. And then my other kids would go, now, you're not behaving. Now, you need to stop it, and you need to this, and you need to that, and go into the timeout. And what God showed me was, what are you doing? You know? And so I decided to play a game with myself to treat my kids like the neighbor kids. And you know what? It worked. It really worked. And my relationship with my kids started to change. But it had to change with me first. I had so many things I had to relearn. It's just crazy. But you know what? Nothing's impossible for God. And the other thing I want to talk to you about is hugging, touching, encouraging. Give them those hugs. Even if they want to pull away from you. It's just a reflex action. Don't be afraid to put your hand on their face or on their head or just touch them. I just came back from Fresno, California last weekend. I did a Bill Glass Champions for Life. We're a national prison ministry, and I'm one of their speakers and singers. And when we all arrive on Thursday, we run into the control room and we look at the big board to see where are we going, who's going to the big yards, you know, and having all the big audiences, you know, because we're still performers at heart. And we all secretly are going, please don't send me to the juvenile unit. Please don't send me to the juvenile unit. Please don't send me to the... You can just see it on their faces when they go up and they see juvenile. They go, ugh. Nobody wants to go to the juvenile units. And it's because it breaks your heart. It breaks your heart. So Mark Maciel, who I was paired up with, we went over to the Fresno juvenile unit. And we did 8 programs over there. It's a huge juvenile facility. And they took us to the youngest section, and there were kids in there 8 years old, 8 to 14. And that one was, by the grace of God, I didn't cry. But these little kids, they just came running up to us. And it's like, you look at these kids and it's like, what happened? And then they took us over to maximum security, where the kids are 15 to 18, and they're in there for murder. They're in there for murder. What happened? What happened? So I do a song called Have I Told You Lately That I Love You? Because I used to sing lullabies to my kids every night. I would rock them, and that was my little bedtime routine. And the quicker I wanted to get them to bed was the faster the song. But I would sing to these kids, and I would walk up to them, and I would just touch them on their face, and their little faces would just break, and they would start to cry. And one of the kids in the Max unit, after I walked and put my hand on his face, he looked at his buddy and he says, "Oh, her hand is so soft." This is a kid that committed murder, a 17-year-old boy. You know, we all need to feel like we're loved. So don't be afraid to touch your kids and hug them. They need it so much. And you do too. Because that softens your heart as well.